Welcome to our video lecture on writing a definition paragraph. And it might surprise you to learn that you're actually not going to be looking at dictionary definitions in these. That's not what these are about, not at this stage of the game. This is more about defining something that's important to you. So the goals for this type of paragraph are to define a word or concept using examples or explanations, explain a personal definition of a common concept where different people might define it in a different way, or provide more information or background about an existing definition. You're not going to do as much of the last one, you're going to do more of the first two. So some strategies are to describe elements of the definition or applications, or to give examples of this definition, or to explain concepts that may not be familiar to your reader. So for pre-writing, you're going to start with analyzing the prompt. You're often going to see keywords in the prompt like define or explain. And then to develop a topic from the prompt, you want to ask yourself a few questions. What is this prompt asking me to define? What do I already know about the topic? And why is it important to me? So then you want to select your evidence. So you might say, how do other people define this topic? Or what are some common features of it? What makes this unique or different from other objects or similar ideas? Or how do you personally define it? That can often be the backbone of these paragraphs. In your topic sentence, you want to include the item, the category, and features. And as always, a good strategy is to reverse the prompt by doing something like this. Topic of prompt is category with features. So you could do something like family is a group of people who love each other. Family might be the topic of prompt, group of people would be the category, features would be features of that category who love each other. Or you might say, home is a representation of my history. So home would be the thing you're defining, representation would be the category, and the features would be your history or something like that. So for example, what is love? So to reverse the prompt, we're going to say love is, the category is a feeling, the description of complete acceptance and caring. So it's topic sentence put together, love is a feeling of complete acceptance and caring. Then for the exposition, you're going to select your answers from the selecting your evidence step. A good pattern is part 1, to me, topic is about, for example, and then give an example, and then explain your example, this shows. Then part 2, topic can also be, then for example, give an example which shows that, and then there should be a blank after that. So explain it just like you did in part 1. And then in part 3, you kind of can talk about what other people think. Other people might say that topic is blank. I agree or disagree because, and then explain why you agree or disagree. So for example, if I did what is love as a prompt? Love can be directed at other people, but it can also apply to oneself, a pet, or even an object. For example, if I forgive myself for making a mistake or for not being perfect during a hard time, that could also be a form of love. So I'm explaining what love is and then giving an example and showing how that example applies. Then maybe go down to someone else's definition. Some people might say that the initial rush of romantic feelings when starting a relationship is love. I think that's more infatuation than true love. Real love requires knowing a person deeply, something that is often impossible in the early part of a relationship. So here I've talked about how other people may define it and whether or not I agree or disagree and why. So then my transition, for an example of it, I would recap my thesis. My definition of love involves complete acceptance, patience, and nurturing another person, and then talk about the significance. And that has helped me to develop strong relationships with those I care about based on those qualities. And the transition, we're basically doing something very similar as what we did in the last 2 paragraphs, so I didn't go into as much detail here on that. So that takes us to the end of how to write a definition paragraph. They're not really that difficult, and I think a lot of you are going to find they're easier than you think they probably will be. Just kind of use the pattern in the slides, use the topic, sentence, transition patterns in the exposition, and you can pretty much just fill in the blanks with your chosen topic and your chosen examples and come up with a really solid paragraph without a whole lot of work and difficulty. So that's it for this video presentation, and I look forward to reading your paragraphs.